Hey guys, it's Eamon with Upper James Toyota, and today we're going to be putting together a little compilation of our new favorite 2024 vehicles. What's going on, guys? It's Eamon with Upper James Toyota, and today I'm going to be reviewing a new remodel design for one of our new SUVs. It's a 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser First Edition, limited to 290 units. We're going to take a closer peek to see the differences between this and a regular Land Cruiser and see if this works for you and your family. All right, so let's talk some numbers, guys. Under the hood of the new Land Cruiser is a 2.4 turbo 4-cylinder with the new iForce Max system. Now, this being a 4-cylinder, it's still making some crazy power. 326 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque. That is to the all-wheel drive system, added with a 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, looking on the front end of the Land Cruiser, now this being a First Edition, it's gonna share a front end very similar to a 1958. You're getting these retro LED circular headlights, which I actually think look really, really cool on a vehicle like this. You can get either the round ones or the more squared off versions, depending on the package that you get. Onto the front end down below as well, you'll be getting rigid fog lamps as well, which actually say rigid throughout both sets of fog lamps on the front end of the vehicle. Now, if you're looking at the front, I like the boxy look that Toyota has done with the Land Cruiser. The outgoing model had the boxy look as well, and I'm happy they kept that onto this new refreshed, redesigned version of it. I think they've done a great job with the Toyota logo across the front. I like the different coloring on the front grille as well. It definitely makes the vehicle look a bit different and look a bit more of a mean off-road vehicle that obviously you can transport with you and your family. Now, looking onto the side of the new Land Cruiser, this being a First Edition has a couple interesting things that a typical Land Cruiser do not come with. We're gonna start with the wheels. Even though this is theoretically a fully loaded Land Cruiser, you can option this with 20-inch alloys. You actually getting 18-inch alloys on this package, specifically because this vehicle is meant to be going off-road. So you want a bit of a smaller rim with a more beefy off-road tire. Behind the wheels on both sides, you actually have a mud flap, which you can actually hold up. So if you're ever going off-roading, you're not worried about actually denting or ripping off a mud flap on any four corners of the wheels for your vehicle, which is a really, really cool, something very, very small that Toyota has done. And it actually says First Edition on the back of all of the mud flaps, which is a cool little feature they have added. With that being said, you'll be getting a rock rail on the sides of the vehicle too. It's basically gonna be deflecting any big rocks, anything like that. Say you are off-roading this and you're going over any big stones, for example, it's not gonna be damaging the side of the vehicle. It will just be rubbing up against the rock rail, which actually does feel pretty solid. Now, on the top as well, you get a two-tone split roof. So it's trail dust exterior with a light gray roof on the top, which I actually don't mind. I wasn't too sure when I originally saw the pictures of this, what it would look like in person, but I actually think they've done a very, very good job. Now, on top as well, you will notice you actually have a little like roof rack, I guess I could say. You could basically tie in any bikes, any equipment, stuff like that you would be taking off-road or even up to the cottage. You necessarily don't have to off-road this vehicle to actually use all the capabilities of it, but this specific First Edition is going to give you a couple more exclusive things that the other trim levels will not get you. Now, taking a look onto the rear of the Land Cruiser, I think they've done a very, very cool job at keeping it not only boxy on the front, but boxy on the rear as well. This little interesting cover right here is just for your tow hitch. You can obviously pull it off and then tow anything with the vehicle that you would like. But a couple of really, really cool features that I'm a huge fan of are going to be a couple things onto the rear glass of this vehicle. So if you push this little button in the left corner right here, you push this and you can actually pull this open. So it's your rear glass. Super simple to pull up. It doesn't take a lot of effort to pull it up either. So say you're in a very tight parking spot, you didn't have much space to actually open your trunk, you can actually throw stuff in that way and make it a lot easier to load stuff in and out of your vehicle. And then simply pushing this down, which is simple to do, can obviously close that up for you. Now, going into the rear of your Land Cruiser as well, trunk will actually open up decently quick. I know I talked about that in the previous video with a Highlander versus a Grand Highlander, but I think that one little feature is also very, very nice. They have interesting lighting in the back of the Land Cruiser as well. So actually the two lights for your trunk are directly above me. So they're actually on the outside of this wall here. And I think that's obviously going to cater very, very well into someone that's gonna be loading anything in or out of their vehicle late at night. All right, guys, now taking a step on into the 2024 Land Cruiser. So a couple of things to note. You definitely sit a little bit differently in this vehicle versus any other of our SUVs. And I'm not really too sure how I can describe it to make it obviously make sense for someone watching this video. But the way that, you know, the steering wheel sits, the way that stuff is catered towards the driver, the different modes down here, the layout of the armrest with a bit of a lower armrest on the door, it is a little bit different on one of our SUVs rather than the RAV4, say like a Venza, something like that. But what I will say is, being on the inside of the vehicle, one thing I've noted, and I've done videos like this before in the past, is that I've always talked about the difference between Lexus and Toyota. I will say one thing is that the finishes and the feel of this vehicle in particular is very, very premium. You feel the nice seats, you feel the lumbar support, even the leather on the headrest and the armrest, for example, it definitely feels a bit more premium like any of our other SUVs that we currently have on the market. And honestly, you want that, especially coming in at this price tag that one of these will come in at. Now, with that being said, a couple of big things and the big takeaways I have noticed being on the inside of the Land Cruiser. Built-in JBL sound system always sounds great. Heads-up display is a big fan favorite of mine. I like this 12.3-inch display here with your full multimedia display, which is fully digital. There's no more needles, nothing like that on it. You have a digital HomeLink mirror, so you can basically add this up to any garage doors, or you can basically flip it forward and it'll actually show you on the rear, by the rear glass, a little mounted camera to show you anything behind you in case you had people or stuff in the back seats and you actually couldn't see with the rear view mirrors. Now, with that being said as well, paddle shifters on a vehicle at this size and at this performance level, I do like as well. If you're gonna take this off-road, you have all your different rear diffs locks down here, your different drive modes for off-roading or whatever you'll be doing in your new Land Cruiser. But I do like the way that this wheel is actually, you know, what they've done to the wheel. They've kind of kept the boxy look on the outside, and they've actually added a bunch of these little boxes on the inside of the Toyota steering wheel now. I like how they've also written Toyota directly across, and it's not just the actual emblem of Toyota, it's an actual, they wrote out Toyota across the steering wheel. I think it's another really, really cool touch to what they have done in this vehicle. For a vehicle at this size, obviously you have driver memory seat on the driver. You're going to be having 8-way power adjustable seat for your secondary passenger in the vehicle, wireless charger, 3 USB-C ports, 1 lightning port as well. One thing I will note too is even on the vents of this vehicle, they've made it look very boxy and kept some of the dark gunmetal, you know, gray looking features on the outside grille and added it onto the inside. So by the shifter here, it's all this interesting gray. The stitching on the seats, the dash, your cup holders, your center arm console is all that same kind of gunmetal gray. So I kind of like how they've kept something on the outside back onto the inside. Now, obviously this vehicle being what it is meant to do, which is off-roading, it is a very, very comfortable and a very, very cool vehicle to off-road if that's something you're going to be doing. However, if you're not, it's still a very, very practical car. It's pretty cool. You could be driving around in a Land Cruiser that you could tell someone's limited to 290 units. I think it's very, very interesting what they have done, while also adding a few little cool things around the vehicle, showing off the differences between a first edition and any other Land Cruiser that we offer. All right, guys, now let's take a step into the rear of the Land Cruiser. So now, shutting this door, I will definitely say this is very, very spacious. I don't think I've jumped into a rear seat of one of our 5-seater SUVs thinking I have this much space. Obviously, this compared to, say, a RAV4, it's very, very different. They come in obviously at very different price points. They come with a lot of different features, so on and so forth. However, this honestly makes it feel like this could actually be a 7 or 8 passenger vehicle. I think they've done a very, very good job at basically allowing this, you know, this bigger vehicle, this boxy vehicle, you know, a cool feel for someone even sitting in the back seat. Now, you roll down the middle armrest here, 2 cup holders on the side. You're gonna have 2 cup holders in both the doors as well. Air vents on the back with your rear climate control, 2 USB-Cs and 120 volt as well to keep anything charged up. I think what they have really managed to do in a vehicle at this size and price point is keeping it similar to the outgoing model. And I know it's a late generation vehicle. It's interesting to be bringing this vehicle back to market now, so many years later. But what I will say is they have kept this vehicle very off-road focused, very comfortable in case you're not even off-roading the vehicle, and very practical for even you and your family to be driving around around not only safe, but also very, very comfortably. Okay guys, now let's talk some numbers for the 2024 first edition Land Cruiser. This vehicle is coming in at $90,390. So it is a very, very premium buck to be spending on a vehicle. But if you're looking for that retro old vehicle that's now been refreshed for 2024, this is a very, very cool SUV to be, bombing around town in. Now, with this being said, this vehicle is only optioned in 2 different color schemes. So it's definitely something to note. You either get this one trail dust with the gray roof, or you get the Heritage Blue with the gray roof. Those are the only 2 color options you can be getting on this vehicle. And obviously limited to 290 units. I would definitely say if you're looking to get one, get an order in as soon as possible for this vehicle, as they're already been rolling out to dealerships. So to get your hands on one of those 290 of them, it's going to be a little bit more challenging versus some other vehicles that we have. Now, with the power that this vehicle puts out and the engine that's underneath the hood of this vehicle, you'll be getting and averaging about 10.1 liters per 100 on this vehicle, which isn't too bad considering this is a larger boxier SUV catered to the off-road style of driving. Please do note this vehicle does take premium fuel. So it's one of our very, very few Toyota vehicles that we actually have in our lineup that have to take premium fuel. So it's definitely something to consider when thinking about getting behind the wheel of a new Land Cruiser. What's going on, guys? It's Aiden with Upper James Toyota again, and today we are going to be reviewing a very, very new popular sedan for Toyota. It's the 2025 Toyota Camry XSE in Midnight Black Metallic. Let's check it out and see if it works good for you guys. So the Toyota Camry was first made in 1983 in Japan. It was a 2-liter 4-cylinder making about 92 horsepower. Now here we are 41 years later onto the 9th generation. This vehicle has been around for a very, very long time. Let's see why that is and seeing all the new things onto the new 2025 model. So on the new 2025 Toyota Camry, you're gonna have 2 different options, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. If you're gonna go to the front-wheel drive option, you're gonna be making about 225 horsepower. That's powered by 2.5 4-cylinder paired with 2 electric motors, or the all-wheel drive option, which is 232 horsepower with the same type of motor. Now onto the front end of the new Camry. If you're looking down here at the headlights, I'm a big fan of the new design. I did a Prius video not too long ago, and they kind of share the same headlight. So it starts on the bottom, loops back up into the bottom end of your hood. I think it looks really, really cool and obviously gives it a very, very great new front end design. Now the front grille is very different for this year as well. It's basically the newest addition to the 2025 Camry and something that I think makes the car look very, very different versus the outgoing model. Now onto the sides, you actually have operational, and they're not just a plastic coated air vent, it actually is a functional air vent. So it'll suck air into your wheel wells to obviously cool down your brakes and your tires to give you obviously a bit more reliability when it comes to keeping those nice and cool for you and your family. Onto the wheels of the Camry. This is an XSE, so it is fully loaded. You could get an XLE as well. They come around the same price point. However, on this package, you're getting 19-inch mixed black with silver wheels. On this vehicle, being a black on black vehicle with full tint, all the emblems are blacked out. I think this wheel combo really, really does look great, and it makes it pop a little bit more, especially on an all-black vehicle. Now, looking at the side profile of the 2025 Toyota Camry, I think they've done a very, very good job at keeping the body lines very, very easy, but also making it a little bit more intricate to the actual design of the vehicle. So if you look onto the rear here, I like this little hump that they've added on the rear quarter panel. It's something that's very, very small. However, I think what they did on the vehicle is they made it kind of look a little bit more aggressive onto the rear end. And if you kind of follow that line all the way down the side of both the rear door and the front doors on both sides of the vehicle, it definitely makes the Camry stand out a little bit more and make it look a little bit more aggressive. All right, now looking onto the rear of the 2025 Toyota Camry. So let's begin XSE. You're gonna be seeing down below here, it's gonna say XSE all in black, which I think is gonna be a really good pop, especially on a vehicle that is all black. Now, looking onto the rear of the vehicle, I'm going to say this is probably the only part of the vehicle that actually looks similar to the outgoing model. So this being a 9th generation Camry, I still think that the rear end is probably the only area of this vehicle that you can actually see a comparison versus the outgoing 8th generation Camry. Now, looking at trunk space on this vehicle, because obviously this being one of our larger sedans, you still need a lot of trunk space for practicality to have this vehicle as a daily driver. Now, if you open up the trunk, the cool thing is it's now centered to the right of the logo. It actually used to be under the logo before. Now it's all the way here over to the right. Now we have some lawn chairs put in here. two big ones, a little small one. However, you can still see how far back this trunk actually goes. So if you're gonna use it for groceries, going to the beach, transporting anything, you're definitely still gonna have a lot of space into the new design for a Toyota Camry. Now let's go take a closer look on the inside of the 2025 Toyota Camry. Okay guys, so taking a peek onto the 2025 Toyota Camry. So jumping inside, it definitely feels very familiar with the outgoing model. Only thing I will be saying is that everything now feels a little bit more premium, I would say. You feel the steering wheel, you feel the leather, you feel the seats. Everything they've done and the finishes that they've left on the vehicle definitely make the car feel a little bit more expensive, which I think is a really, really nice touch that Toyota is doing. Kind of more feels like a Lexus in a sense. This versus the outgoing model, a lot of things have changed. So standard on an XSE model, for example, JBL sound system, cooled seats, heated seats, full panoramic moonroof on the vehicle. You're getting a 12.3 touch display with wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM. You have all the new features and the new safety sense features. You actually have TSS 3.0, which definitely needed an update from the outgoing model, having 2.5 plus. So having this and all of the newest features obviously will be keeping you and the people inside the vehicle very, very safe. The one interesting feature I will say is that centered behind the actual steering wheel, there's a small little screen, and on that screen, it is actually going to be something called your driver monitor camera. What this does, it will actually be looking directly at you, and if for some reason you are looking not directly in front of you on the road and you're looking to your right, it will actually alert you to put both hands in the steering wheel and look forward, which I think is a really interesting thing. They've added this onto the Crown, they've added this onto the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max, and I think a lot of our newer redesigned models are going to be having one of these features, and I think it's a really interesting one. So that's one interesting new thing that I wasn't used to driving the new Camry. However, when you're sitting in here, it feels luxurious. That's the easiest way I could kind of put it. Everything about that, the way things are laid out with the new screens and the improvements that they've made. Obviously, this is being a top of the end model for us, but even the outgoing previous generation, you know, you'd start from a 7-inch screen and you could work up to a 9-inch screen. Well, now in the new 2025, you start at an 8-inch screen and you can work your way all the way up to a 12.3-inch screen. So they've definitely added a couple new things here. Talking about the seats, that's one interesting thing. Onto an SE or an SE upgrade model for a Camry, you'll be getting a white insert down the middle of your seats. It's kind of like a mixed soft text with a little bit of fabric into the seats. These ones are all black. Now in an XSE, you can option it to be all black, or you can actually still get cockpit red, which is the full red interior Camry, which was very, very popular beforehand. I actually like the black. The red is very, very bright. So for me, having the vehicle outside being black, I like the inside also being black. I think they've done a very, very good job to keep it simple, but also still kind of adding a more sporty design with the red option interior. Now, I've done a Crown review before. The Crown sits a little bit higher up than the Camry, but it definitely makes the vehicle feel a little bit higher up, like you kind of are in an SUV. However, in the Camry, the way that you're sitting now and the way that the car feels and how you feel in the vehicle, the one reason I think I like the Crown as well is that it felt a little bit more spacious. I think they've now added that into the Camry. So I would actually be taking a Camry over the Crown. I think they've done a very, very good job at laying this vehicle out very, very well. Now, a couple other things to note. Standard on this package, JBL's of course, heads-up display is a big one. The 12.3-inch screen with your MID in front of you as well. I think that they have really catered this to not only the driver, but also anyone else inside the vehicle. So it definitely could be a very, very good option for you and your family down the road. Hey guys, I know you guys are enjoying the video, but please do not forget to like and subscribe so we can become the #1 Toyota YouTube channel on earth. Jumping into the rear of the 2025 Camry. So, a couple things to note. We've got the armrest down here. Again, I'm a bit taller. I am right on the cusp in the back seat here. So I don't really know if I slouch down a little bit, maybe it'd be a little bit more comfortable for me. But if I was actually sitting completely upright, I would be kind of right on the roof of the new Camry. So I think I'd be definitely more suitable to go in the front of the vehicle rather than the rear. With that being said though, it's still very, very comfortable. It's still very, very spacious. Now, obviously just being myself in the vehicle right now, if you added someone into the second seat in the middle here and then one on the other side, it might be a little squishy back here. But just for myself right now, or or if I had one other person next to me here, I think it'd be more than fine and I would be comfortable to go on a nice ride. Now, a couple things I will say, it's interesting onto the XSE because if you go XLE on a Camry, you get a couple more luxury features. But I thought it's interesting on the XSE, they didn't add heated rear seats onto the Camry. I thought they probably would for the new design. I know that, you know, that's a common feature nowadays is having heated rear seats. They don't have that on this vehicle, which I think is interesting. You look down here and you feel around, you've got a couple USB-C ports. You got two of them actually, so you can flip them down. Obviously you can plug in your stuff, but that's really it back here. There's no, you know, climate control. There's just some vents down here, some cup holders in the center. If you guys have watched the videos before, you guys know that I love a moonroof that comes all the way back into the second row. And I think that if that wasn't into the second row, you would feel a lot more claustrophobic in the back of this vehicle. With that being said, I still think they've done a very, very good job redesigning this vehicle. For a vehicle to be around for as long as the Camry has been, to have that going on the market for its 9th generation, you know, it hasn't had a redesign since 2018. I think that there's a lot of high hopes from, you know, customers of Toyota and obviously such a large brand. And people were wondering what's going to happen when they redesign the Camry. Is it going to look, you know, over the top? Is it going to be too futuristic? Is it going to look like the previous generation? That's a question a lot of my customers have asked, was that, you know, what's going to happen for the new Camry? I'm so happy to not only be able to drive one, have one here as a test drive unit, because this is what this vehicle is here for. It's a test drive unit vehicle, but I think they've done a very, very good job. The only thing that I'm necessarily not the biggest fan of, I'm gonna say, is yes, the back room here is not the greatest for headroom. I don't like how there's no heated seats in the back, but other than that, I think this would be a very, very good practical car for you and your family moving down the road. So there it is, guys, the 2025 Toyota Camry. Now, talking numbers on this vehicle, combined highway and city, you'll be averaging 5.3 liters per 100. That is a very, very low number for a large full-size sedan. In this scheme right now, which is black on black, which is no color options from the factory, because obviously you can get this vehicle with red interior or a two-tone roof. So you could get white with a black roof, heavy metal with a black roof, and a few more. Price in this vehicle, MSRP is gonna be starting at $44,250, plus obviously taxes, your air tax, your government fees, freight and PDI, and your licensing. However, I think value for money on this vehicle is huge, especially on the fuel efficiency side. What's going on, guys? It's Aiden with Upper James Toyota again, and today I'm going to be featuring a very, very rare vehicle to have. This is our new test drive unit. It's a 2024 Grand Highlander Hybrid Platinum Max, featured in Storm Cloud Blue. Let's take a closer peek, see if this vehicle works for you. Please do remember to subscribe so you do not miss any more of our Toyota related content. And let's check out this car. Okay, so taking a look onto the front end of a Grand Highlander Platinum Max. So a couple of great things you're gonna be seeing off the front end. Fog lights, which you will be getting on a limited model as well. I love the new headlight style and the boxier look of this. This compared to a regular Highlander is much bigger. I did a comparison video before on this as well. So space has increased on this vehicle. This being the Platinum though, you'll be getting a 2.4 4-cylinder paired up with our Turbo Max system over here. This will be making an output of 362 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. Those are some serious numbers coming from Toyota in their top of the model for a 7-passenger vehicle. Now, there's a lot of other cool little quirks and features on this vehicle, a lot of them being on the inside. We'll take a peek at them and we're gonna see how they work for you and your family. So let's take a closer look at some of the exterior features on the Grand Highlander Platinum Max before we jump into it. One thing onto the side of the vehicle you will be noting is that the vehicle comes with 20-inch alloy wheels. Now, on a vehicle of this size or any larger vehicle, I like the look of a larger wheel. I think it fills the wheel gap much better and it makes the vehicle look a little bit more premium in my opinion. With this being a black and a silver wheel on even a blue car, which is this new color for 2024 for us, I actually like the color contrast between the two. Now, talking about any accessories or stuff like that on the vehicle, we have opted in to add this little strip down here, which is on both sides, which is called body side moldings. Now, what this will do, it's gonna paint match the color of your vehicle. What that's basically gonna do is any small tight parking spots, anytime you are parked the vehicle, if anyone opens up the side door, you will not be having to replace the entire door panel. You'll just simply peel this piece off, get a new one ordered, and replace it for a fraction of the cost. Now, moving on to the rear, one big thing that you will see that is very different versus a regular XLE or a Limited, the other two trim models you could be getting on a Grand Highlander, that's a gas or a hybrid, you're gonna be getting dual exhaust pipes, which I actually really like. I think that makes the vehicle look a little bit more sporty, and it's also very, very fitting for a vehicle that's going to be our most powerful version of the three different trim levels. Now, another thing that is interesting onto the Grand is that you will be seeing it reads Grand Highlander built into your rear bumper here, which will color match the color of your vehicle. So it's going to be blue in this case. Now, opening it up, another really cool and interesting feature about this vehicle, it has the kick sensor to open or close your trunk. So it's obviously gonna alleviate any obviously hand space or loading stuff into the vehicle. One cool thing too, which I will show you when we're inside the car, is when you're actually reversing, there is a mode you can press. It's a new thing onto our 2024s. On some specific models, you can actually hit a button which will wash your rear camera. A small little thing that Toyota has done to obviously alleviate any salt marks, fingerprints come the winter time, so that you and your family can be more than safe reversing this big vehicle. Looking onto the interior of the Platinum Max. A couple things to note. It's interesting, I've actually only sat in ever one of these before. The one thing to note is that there's gold trim everywhere. It's in the seats, it's in the stitching, it's around your center console here, your shift knob, your screens, your steering wheel. Kind of interesting, and the only, I'd say, outlier versus this and any other Grand Highlander, you would never get this gold trim on any other models other than this one. So I think it's kind of interesting what they decided to do. They've integrated this new shifter that has come directly from the 2023 Prius. So I did a video on the Prius before, and I stated that I like the shifter feel. It definitely takes some time to get used to. However, once you're comfortable with it, it actually makes driving and the decluttering of your center console actually pretty usable for an everyday driver, which I think is a great option to include on this one. This being a Platinum Max, you are gonna be getting a couple things versus a regular Limited that you would not be getting. One big thing, you have heads-up display. So it's gonna display your speedometer on the actual windshield for you. So you don't have to look down at your digital tachometer just to see how fast you're going. It'll also display what gear you're in, any road signs ahead with the new Safety Sense features that are featured in this vehicle. So it kind of is catered towards the driver and obviously making life a little bit easier for them. The only thing that's actually not an option on any other two trim levels are going to be paddle shifters as well. You get those on a Grand Max, and this is going to be a 6-speed automatic gearbox in this vehicle. So if you want to put the car into manual, have some fun with it like that, you're more than welcome to do so. And believe me, this will get going pretty quickly. You will be getting driver memory seats, which are going to be heated and cooled for passenger, driver, and the second row. So if you have anyone in the second row, that's obviously a really nice add-on to have as a feature standard in a vehicle. Paired with that, a 12.3-inch touchscreen display, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Sirius XM, built-in JBL sound system, panoramic moonroof. You'll be getting all of the wireless charging capabilities in this vehicle with a lot of USB-C ports and a lot of cup holders, like I mentioned in a previous Grand Highlander hybrid video. I love the look of it on the inside here. I think the one thing that I never really captured when I first saw one were the actual seats. Now, they're leather filled with some like Alcantara or like a suede insert, and I just think it looks very premium, obviously for the dollar that you're spending on a vehicle like this. So this vehicle will be here as a test drive unit. So if you want to drive this, it'll be an appointment-based test drive for this vehicle. I definitely encourage anyone to come down to look at it just to see, what you're going to be getting in a fully loaded Platinum Max. Now we're going to take a step into the second row of the Platinum Max. I've already been through the third row and the second row in a comparison video I did before on this channel between the regular Highlander and a Grand, but that was an XLE. So it came with a bench. This one and a Limited model will only come configured as a 7 7-passenger or with captain's chair. So I'm gonna see kind of what that looks like in the second row. And then obviously from there, if you guys want to come in to take a peek at the third, fit any small kids in there, or because they now are adult size with the third row, you could fit anyone in the back to see if that works for you and your family. Okay guys, so just like the front seats, the rear seats also have some of the gold. Gold stitching, gold inserts, gold around your center, removable console in the middle of the 2 seats back here. I left the seat exactly where I was, and this is a very large vehicle. So you're supposed to be holding adults in this vehicle, and you would have no problem doing so. I definitely do like, onto the second row, how they've really catered to making the driving experience not only great for the up front passengers, but the rear center middle row passengers yet as well. So you have your own climate control, you can set your fans, how hot you want it in here, which is great for anyone sitting back here, as well as your heated and cooled seats. So if you've seen my previous videos, the one big thing that I love in any vehicle is going to be a panoramic moonroof. That is standard in a limited model of this and the Platinum Max. However, I'm such a fan of having this into any kind of vehicle. I think the way that the vehicle has now opened up has just made being on the inside that much more enjoyable. The storage in a Grand is something that they've definitely excelled in, and I've driven these cars before. I don't have a whole use of using a second row or a third row just yet in my personal life. However, a vehicle like this, and if something like storage space and having the practicality of maybe having a vehicle with all that space, but it not feeling too cluttered, this could be a really good option for you. You've got a storage compartment in the middle here, storage in both doors, cup holders everywhere. Your center console has a massive storage bin as well. The third row also has a lot of storage. So this could definitely be a very, very good family car if you're a larger family, say a 5 or a 6-person family. That's not to say someone with, a 4-person family wouldn't like this either. You can fold down the third row, have all the space in the world, so definitely come and check this out as your next vehicle. Now, at a vehicle being this large, going to a hybrid system will definitely benefit anyone on the fuel consumption side of things. Now, with this being, yes, still a very, very powerful 4-cylinder paired with a hybrid system, you'll be averaging about 8.8 liters per 100 on a vehicle at this size, which is actually pretty good. Toyota typically rates a little bit higher than they probably would be, so I could expect any clients to be driving one of these, depending how hard you are hitting the gas, to be averaging anywhere into the mid-8s to even the low 8s. Now, a vehicle being this loaded with features, fuel economy, performance, and safety, I think the bang for your buck is coming on the price side of things. MSRP on a 2024 Grand Highlander Hybrid Max, obviously it's MSRP, so before dealer charges, licensing, taxes, and your optional fees, you're going to be at about $65,450, which is actually a pretty competitive price point where Toyota has put this on the market. Now, if you are looking to come in to test drive it, see it in person, please do give us a call. This will be here for test drives only, like I mentioned beforehand. So give us a call, get that booked in so you and your family can come and drive it. Please be sure to subscribe so you do not miss any more of our future Toyota related content, and we'll see you guys in the next video.